care about someone when they're doing something that benefits you? Do you actually care about them? Today, we're going to talk about law enforcement agencies and discuss whether or not they actually care about their law enforcement officers. Let's discuss. Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 16 of the Recruiting Heroes Show. I am your host, Colin Whittington. I'm also the CEO and founder of Recruiting Heroes, LLC, a national employment agency dedicated to helping America's law enforcement officers and veterans find amazing careers after their years of service. I'm so honored to have you here all today. I know this is a topic that a lot of you will probably be interested in, and that is whether or not law enforcement agencies truly care about their police officers, deputy sheriffs, federal agents, or any other law enforcement officer. If you are currently a law enforcement officer or have served in law enforcement or the military and are considering a career transition to the private sector, I'm offering my free Heroes Job Search Guide. I'm going to link it down below, but it's also on our website at recruitingheroesllc.com. This amazing document that we've created comes with our professional resume template, which I use for my own resume, as well as the 600 plus resumes I've written now for law enforcement officers and military veterans. It comes with instructions on how to write a fantastic resume, LinkedIn optimization tips and strategies, interview advice, and so much more. Again, it's completely for free, so check it out on the link below or at recruitingheroesllc.com. As always, if you could like this video, subscribe to the channel, and if you have an opinion on whether or not law enforcement agencies care about their officers, please put in the comments below. If you have an agency that you currently work with that's doing a great job helping their officers with their career transitions, I would love to hear that as well. But let's get right into the topic. Rightfully so, law enforcement agencies in recent years have finally started to focus more on officer wellness. I think for decades now, law enforcement has had an incredibly high mental health and suicide problem. It's been something that's been really difficult for the law enforcement profession. My own agency, we unfortunately lost an officer who took his own life and died by suicide, which was very traumatic for the whole agency, even for those who didn't really know him as well. Losing Justin was a huge loss, and it's something that we all still remember to this day. So for a long time, law enforcement didn't want to talk about mental health. They didn't want to talk about the things their officers were going through, either on the job, at home, or even in their lives after law enforcement. And it really had a huge impact. Again, law enforcement suicides are incredibly high, similar to those in the military as well. So luckily, that has become a bigger topic in recent years. And a lot of agencies have officer wellness programs, have peer support, have a variety of other things, which I think is awesome. However, what law enforcement is truly lacking in currently is resources to help their officers prepare for their life and their career after law enforcement. You know, in the military, they have their transitions assistance program. You may have your own opinions about that program, some good, some not so good, but at least the military is trying to do something to help their personnel with their transition from military life to life in the civilian world and the civilian workforce. In law enforcement, we pretty much have none of that. Most agencies that I've looked into and talked to have absolutely nothing when it comes to helping their officers transition to a career outside of law enforcement. They might have a retirement class, like my agency had that, but that was really focused on, you know, your pension, talking about health insurance, talking about Social Security, and more the financial aspect of retiring, which of course is super important. Don't get me wrong, a very important topic. However, they fail to talk about what exactly law enforcement officers can and should be doing once they leave the profession and decide to enter the private sector. So many officers got into this job when they were in their young 20s, you know, some even 18, depending on the state. And if you served even 30 years, you know, you might only be in your young 50s, but some officers are still in their 40s even. And for a variety of reasons, financial or just personal motivation, a lot of officers don't want to fully retire at that age. They want or need to have a second career, but they don't know what they can do next, right? Because we in law enforcement, again, we don't do anything to help our officers with that process. That was a big driver behind me starting my company, which again is Recruiting Heroes. And all we do is help veterans and law enforcement officers with their career transition to the private sector. So every single week, I'm talking to dozens of officers who are trying to leave law enforcement and go into the private sector. And so many of them still feel lost and unsure. Many of them have never written a resume before, haven't even created a LinkedIn profile, haven't interviewed for a job in 20 or 30 years, haven't used social media to find a job. And for them, this is an entirely new world. And it would be unrealistic for anyone to expect them to know exactly what to do, since that was never required of them in their time in law enforcement. So that drove me to start my business. It encouraged me to write my first book, which again is Beyond the Thin Blue Line. Hope you can check it out. I'll link that below as well. Was an Amazon bestseller last summer, which was pretty cool, and it's still doing very well. Actually, today I sold my 3,000th copy of that book, and it's now been sold in 16 different countries, which I think is very, very cool. So if you haven't checked it out yet, do check it out. It's a great resource for you. So that was really one of the reasons I started this book. But then I wanted to get even more in contact with law enforcement officers to really help them. So I and my company created a half-day course for law enforcement agencies specifically, where I would go across the country, even the world, to teach this course. And it's a course called Beyond the Thin Blue Line: Career Strategies for Law Enforcement Officers. And it's all about what officers can do throughout their career to prepare for the transition and then to be successful in the private sector. So we talk about identifying industries of interest, what you can do as far as trainings and certifications go throughout your law enforcement time to make yourself really competitive when it comes time to leave law enforcement. How to write a fantastic resume, which could also be very beneficial for our law enforcement officers as they go through promotional processes. Talk about LinkedIn and networking. We talk about job interview training, which is also a good skill to have for promotions, and salary negotiation, and so much more. This class is really awesome. It's been a lot of fun teaching it. I've gone around the country and have many more classes planned this year as well, which is exciting. But when I look at the numbers, it's really disheartening. Probably around at least 9 out of 10 agencies that I approach about this class shoot me down and tell me to get lost. And it's nothing to do, at least what they tell me, it's nothing to do with not trusting me or my company. It's nothing to do with the finances, because the class is very, very cheap. I've even offered it for free in the past, but it's a very affordable class. They tell me they do not want to teach their officers these skills because they think it'll make them leave law enforcement. And this is a really sad way to look at it. It's been really disheartening, because I actually went back to my the academy I went to. The academy I went to is a regional academy, so about 17 or 18 agencies go to that academy, and my agency was one of the 17 or 18. So I went back to the academy and approached them about this class as well. And I'll share the email. I'll block off the name, but I'll share the email, what they wrote back. And they basically said, I have some bad news. Your class was not approved by Academy management, so everything is now canceled. There were some discussions that teaching people how to leave their organization was a possibility, and that with short staffing issue already being faced by agencies, it would not be prudent to offer your class at this time. And what a short-sighted way to look at this problem. So this isn't a class. If you're a law enforcement executive, I want you to listen really close. This class is not about trying to convince anybody to leave law enforcement. I think this profession needs the very best and brightest people in the profession. I would love for everyone to stay 20 or 30 plus years. So again, this class is not about trying to get people to leave law enforcement. But at some point in time, your officers are going to have to leave law enforcement, whether because they reach retirement age, for health reasons, financial reasons, moving, a variety of reasons. And by rejecting this class, you're basically saying, I don't care what happens to this officer once he or she leaves my agency. I only care about them while they are here right now. So this brings us back to the question I asked at the very beginning of this video. If you only care about somebody when they are personally providing a service that benefits you and don't care about them afterwards, have you ever actually cared about them? And my opinion is no. You care about them because, again, they're benefiting you. But as soon as that benefit's gone, your level of care is gone. I hope you can prove me wrong. This class, again, it's a phenomenal resource to agencies out there. Again, it's not one where I'm trying to teach people to leave. And people, again, talk about people might leave if they hear this class. Yeah, they might. They also might leave if they don't hear this class. The military, I mentioned before, has their transitions assistance program. The military has their own problems with recruiting and retention. They're doing having just as difficult job as law enforcement is currently. And yet they still believe it's the right thing to do to help their personnel prepare for life after the military. So why can't law enforcement do the same? It's a question I really don't know how to answer. It's really shocking to me, the responses I get from agencies. And I think this class would be a good fit for any officer, regardless of his or her rank or tenure in your department. I think it's a good thing for them to start thinking about early in their career, even if they have no intentions of leaving law enforcement for years and years and years. I think it's good for that. However, if your agency is worried about teaching this to younger people, okay, I can see that. Offer this class or a similar class. Doesn't have to be me. Don't like my presentation style. No hard feelings. Offer a similar class to your officers who are eligible for retirement. All right. Last year in December, as well as coming up again in April, I went down to Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department, a huge agency. I think they have like 1,800 officers. And I taught their retiring officers this course. And it was awesome. It was an awesome experience. I think they really enjoyed it. I loved it. And what I heard from them is that their chief has 3 priorities. All right. His priorities are recruitment, retention, and retirement. I think it's such a cool way of putting the emphasis on those 3 things. First, recruiting. Of course, you want to recruit the best officers to your agency. That's a huge, huge part of keeping vacancies at a good level. The second one, though, is probably the most important part of keeping vacancies low, and that's retention. And that's where most agencies get it wrong. They don't focus on retention. The third is retirement. And this agency actually wants to see their personnel do well in life after law enforcement. So they actually reached out to me. I never approached them. Charlotte-Mecklenburg PD reached out to me and invited me to come for 2 classes already, probably more down the road. And it's just phenomenal to see how much they care about their agencies. So if you want to follow an agency like them and be a good example for your officers, reach out to me as well. Again, at recruitingheroesllc.com. But I think it's a really short-sighted view to think of, oh, if we teach them how to write a resume, they'll leave, right? That's a very short-term view of the problem of law enforcement vacancies. This current generation of the law enforcement leaders are probably the Gen Xers, baby boomers, older generation who went through, entered law enforcement at a time where law enforcement agencies didn't really have to recruit, right? For every 1 job opening, there'd be 200 people lined up to try to take that job. That's not the case anymore. This law enforcement currently is trying to recruit millennials somewhat still, but Gen Zers for sure. And these generations, they want to work somewhere where they feel valued and where an organization that actually cares about them as people. Imagine you telling recruits that you care about your officers so much that you actually help them leave law enforcement when time comes. You help them with preparing for their next career. That way they're successful in their life after law enforcement. That's an agency that a lot of people would want to work for. Because again, you're showing that you actually care about your officers, not just while they're responding to calls for service for you or working a case or whatever else they're doing. You care about them so much that you want them to be successful in life after law enforcement. So again, this class, it's not about trying to get anyone to leave, but it is to help officers prepare for the life after. And if you truly care about your officers, show it. Prove it to them by providing a class just like this one. Again, I can be reached at any point in time. I will travel all over the world to teach this class. I went to Ireland last year and spoke on this topic, and I would be happy to come to your agency and teach this course. It is so vitally important that we help our law enforcement officers prepare for their next career. This current job market is terrible. I'm going to be honest with you. It sucks. And most officers are waiting far too long to start planning out their next career move. And then when a time comes, they are scrambling and they are trying to find anything that will hire them or who will hire them. And oftentimes are stuck with no job at all or taking opportunities that they are not excited about. And that's terrible. If an officer has served your community for 20 or 30 years, you should want him or her to have the best life after retirement and that they can have a career that really aligns with their interests and passions. And that's what this course is all about. It's all about helping people use the skills and resources they already have and use that to propel themselves into the next part of their life and career. So I do hope you take this video to heart and show that you actually care about your officers and not just caring about them while they're wearing your uniform and your badge. care about them for the rest of their life. And it starts right now by getting a class just like this one. If you are interested, I hope you will reach out to me personally, either on LinkedIn or at our website. Again, it's recruitingheroesllc.com. Go on in there, send us a message, and I'd be very delighted to come to your agency. If you are an officer and you're watching this video, talk to someone in your leadership team and approach them about this idea. I'm happy to jump on a phone call with them. I'm happy to jump on a Zoom call with them to discuss what this class is and is not about and why it could be a benefit for your department. Again, it's a really good resource. It's a 4-hour class, so it's not going to take a ton of time of your officer's time. I'm going to come in there and it's all right down to business with very actionable steps. So I'm very, very excited to offer this course to anybody who might be interested. But again, thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you for your years of service. If you need help on your transition, again, reach out to us at any time. All we do is help law enforcement officers and military veterans with their transition. And check out our free Heroes Job Search Guide. Again, it's an amazing resource that's completely for free for officers and veterans. So go to our website at recruitingheroesllc.com. Download a copy. Again, please do like this video and comment below. Let me know what you think about a course like this. Should law enforcement agencies be providing this type of service to their officers? If they shouldn't, let me know that as well, because I'd love to hear your thoughts on why it's not the agency's responsibility to train their officers on how to leave and how to find success in the next chapter. But I think most of you will agree that law enforcement officers deserve to have these tools and resources. So do comment below and subscribe to this channel. Until our next video, everybody, stay safe out there, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye, guys.